The mission of Project Renewal is to provide the support and services necessary for families and individuals in the Georgia counties of Rockdale, Newton, and Walton to live in a violence-free home.
When I first met the person that I now know as my abuser, that was back in 2019, and at first he was a great guy. Really wonderful. We were in a relationship for a year, and he seemed very loving and attentive to both me and my child. And it got to the point where he wanted to look at buying a house together. So we did, and I even got to pick out the house. But the house had to be an hour away from where I lived, where all my friends lived. And it was in his town, his neighborhood, and the house was all in his name. So I had no legal rights to the house. Once we moved into that house, things didn't happen all at once, but that's when the first domino fell. And it was just little things like, being upset when there was a dust bunny on the floor, or, things just weren't done right. And then it got to the point where he was coming and going with no explanation to me. But I was not permitted to do that. It got to the point where I couldn't even leave the house and go grocery shopping without permission. That relationship in that house was ongoing for about 8 months, and the final straw was when I did go to the grocery store without permission, and he sent me a text saying that he would not get my child from the bus stop that he left the house. I had only 10 minutes to leave the buggy with everything and try to rush back home. And from the outside looking in, you would never ever guess that any of this was going on. It looked like a really wonderful relationship. And from my own account to other people, it would have sounded like it was perfect and wonderful. But that's just kind of how things end up. You hide things yourself. You kind of don't want anybody to know what's going on at home. It got to the point where one of my friends, this was in March, one of my friends became so concerned for me that she called the authorities to come and do a welfare check on me at night. The next day, I knew something had to happen, that I couldn't stay there anymore. That was a week after he had abandoned my child outside when the bus was dropping her off. She was in kindergarten. I went to my child's school and I talked to the school counselor because I knew that I had to flee, but I didn't know where I was going to go or for how long. And I was worried about my child missing school. And once they found out what was going on, the counselor, she put me in touch with Project Renewal. And when I spoke with the crisis counselor at Project Renewal who took my call, I told her, I do have a problem, and this might sound, kind of silly, or you might not understand, but I have pets. And she interrupted me. She said, "Say no more." She said, "There's a resource." So Project Renewal even knew the resources where my pets could go while my daughter and I were in a domestic violence shelter. And she said, "If we can get all that set up for you, will you leave today?" And I said, yes. I had no idea what to really expect from being in a domestic violence shelter, because I'd never been in a situation like that at all. And so at first it's scary, it's lonely, and you feel like not only have you failed in love and in life, but now you're in a domestic violence shelter. And I remember thinking to myself, I've hit rock bottom. I'm in a domestic violence shelter. And it wasn't until several weeks later when I realized that my mindset and my outlook was wrong. Rock bottom was the day before I got to Project Renewal. The day I got to Project Renewal was that first foothold getting out of rock bottom. Being here at Project Renewal, I didn't have to worry about, where am I going to sleep tonight? Is my daughter safe? What's she going to eat? Here at Project Renewal, not only do they provide you with really good home-cooked meals, they have a cook who actually takes the time to ask, what kind of vegetables does your daughter like? What do you guys like? Dietary restrictions. They also have a children's case manager that takes care of the kids and what they need. And so not only were our needs being met, our physical needs as far as housing and safety and food, our emotional and mental and spiritual needs were being met as well. And just everybody here was so kind and friendly, and was either a sister to me or a grandmother to my daughter or even a mother figure to me. So being in an environment like that, it just made it so not easy, but such a doable feat to go out there and get myself set up for success again. Because I had just, bought a house with the person that I thought was going to be my forever person, and it turned out it wasn't. And having to start from scratch again, that's really, really hard. But they made it so we could do what we needed to do. And we had essentially that soft place to fall in the time that we needed from them to get back up again.